welcome to episode 23 of the Paper Crane Yarns Knitting Podcast. My name is Ashley and I am the owner and dyer of Paper Crane Yarns, which is a hand-dyeing yarn company, as well as a brick and mortar store located in Central Alabama, USA. And if you think this isn't my 10th time trying to record this intro, then you would be wrong, because I really struggle with saying hello and welcome and all of those things. So there we go. I'm rolling with that. Today is November 24th. It's a Thursday. It's 2022. And I'm coming from my shop. Okay. I used to really resist that whole sharing what you're drinking because I felt like it was part of the knitting podcast formula. And I'm sure you know what I mean. If you watch a knitting podcast, most of them are going to be the same format. And to me, that's excellent. I love it. I like watching that. I like to know what to expect. And I think it's comfortable. It's just enjoyable for me. But something I've always laughed about is including a note about your beverage. But I have decided I am going to do that sometimes because I think that we all appreciate cozy and the little luxuries in life, and so I am appreciative for the fact that I can drink this drink, and so I'm going to tell you about it. I feel like there's definitely a well-known overlap in knitting and coffee or tea. For me, I am a coffee person through and through, so yes, I find that there's an overlap, so hopefully you appreciate this little segment. So this mug is really sweet. This is a vintage mug from Japan. I got a set of these on Etsy from a vintage reseller, and the manufacturer is Otagiri, and it's this just lovely strawberry collection with this gold rim. So they're very pretty, very dainty, and I am notorious for breaking things, so I'm hoping that I will not do so with this. So yes, and then I'm drinking a coffee. These are beans that I roasted last night in my home roaster, and these are organic beans from Peru. So I was drinking these last time too. I'm almost out of the green beans, I want to say. Maybe we have a bit more. No, we do. We have a bit more. We buy our green beans from Coffee Bean Corral, and we always get 10-pound bags, so they last us probably not as long as they should, but a good while. And then I also have this beautiful strawberry pitcher, and this was made in the US. This is the Strawberry San Francisco, and I'm not as familiar with this manufacturer, but I got this from the same person who had this set of strawberry mugs. So this is how my husband and I make our coffee. We actually grind it and steep it, and then we pour it over a sieve, so it's fairly strong. That's how I like it. And then the handle is really adorable. It has strawberries. So yeah, that's my little treasure that I recently got, and I'm enjoying some very luxurious coffee out of this tiny little mug. So now that we're 10 minutes in, well, let's talk about some fiber and knitting and all of that good stuff. And I'll start with what I'm wearing, which is the Sheer V sweater by Jessie Made Designs. And I knit this last year. I've really only worn it twice, I think. Once for an episode that I recorded early on, and then again at India Untangled when I went last year to Rhinebeck. And yeah, so I really love this sweater, but let me stand up and show you. So I'm wearing it with a pinafore style dress. It has these split bell sleeves, and of course it has this sheer V intarsia panel, and yeah, so it's really gorgeous. I knit this holding Pearl Soho tussock in the Pink Fog colorway with a double with Anzula Cloud. I don't remember what the colorway was called, but it was whichever one is their undyed base. I want to say it was a cashmere and merino base, and then of course held double with the silk mohair. And so I paired, the pink fog with just a white undyed. So you get this beautiful, very pale pink haze over the undyed, lovely yarn. I'm having a hard time apparently. I haven't thought about the sweater in a long time, but I knew I wanted to wear something today that, if you're newer to my channel, maybe you haven't seen. And I know a lot of people love Jessie made patterns, and I've heard many say they want to knit this one, so I thought I'd wear it to give a little bit of perspective on the way that it fits and just the beauty of it. It is really, really beautiful. This feels like an heirloom kind of sweater. But I don't wear it very often, mostly because I was pregnant for a long time in between knitting this and now. And the other thing is, I wish that I would have not included the waist shaping. So this pattern includes a couple of options. So you can choose to, and I didn't say, but I'm sure you could tell, this panel here, this V, is just the silk mohair held single. So you drop your lace weight yarn. They're both technically lace weights. Anzula Cloud, I think, is considered a lace weight. So you drop that main skein, if you will, for your intarsia panel for this V. And I remember this being fairly simple to knit, and this was one of the first sweaters I ever knit. So if you're an adventurous beginner, I think you could definitely do this pattern. And so yes, you can choose to knit a deeper V, which is definitely not my, not something I would be interested in, but I have seen some beautiful versions where people have done so. And you can also choose to include waist shaping or knit the body sort of straight without the waist shaping. The way that this fits me, other than here where it's a bit of a drop shoulder, so you have a little bit of ease, the rest of the sweater fits me almost like a glove. There is just maybe an inch of ease, an inch or two of ease. And of course it's tucked into my pinafore, so you can't tell quite as much. But I wish I would have knit either no waist shaping or a slightly bigger size, because I am a person who is very self-conscious about their bust size, and I sort of wish that this pattern did not emphasize so much my bust. Yeah, full transparency. That's a little bit awkward, but it's just how I feel. I've always felt this way. And so yeah, the inclusion of this panel and the waist shaping, I feel like it really draws attention to my bust size, and not something I'm totally comfortable with. So I have the desire to knit this again. This really didn't use much yarn. I had a ton left over. I still have almost an entire skein of the Anzula Cloud, and I only had 2 skeins to start with. I think there's over 500 yards in each skein because it is a lace weight. And then the Pearl Soho, the tussock, I had lots and lots of leftovers from that. I used it to knit my Birds of a Feather by Andrea Mowry. And yeah, so I have intentions to knit this again in a darker color. And if I do so, I think I will just either forego the waist shaping, or I'll knit it longer because it is cropped, and perhaps go up a size. I'm not entirely sure about that because I do think this upper portion does fit well. It's more so the body. So I think if I just forego the waist shaping, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The other thing that I'm wearing today is my Calville shawl. This is by Gabriella of the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. This was her pattern design that she released. Gabriella, was that in the spring of this year or last year? I don't remember when you released this, but yes. So this is my Calville shawl. Let me hold it up and show you. I've shown this probably 4 or 5 times now, so you may have already seen this, but it feels really adorable and cozy with my pinafore style dress today. And I've got, see if I can elegantly put my boot up. I've got some faux leather boots that I got from a thrift store at some point, and so I feel like my outfit is very cute today, and I needed the extra coziness of this gorgeous shawl. So this is knit from Juniper Moon Farm, their yarn company. This is the Harriet line, which is 100% alpaca. So this is very, very warm and drapey and soft. It's really incredible. And I think it looks really very pretty with this outfit today. Outfits like this one are why I wanted to even knit this shawl, because I feel like some kind of princess in a cottage or something. Like very Sleeping Beauty, Snow White-esque. And I feel like maybe those are part of the reasons why Gabriella designed this shawl, was to invoke those cozy cabin feelings. So yes, I've talked at length about this gorgeous shawl. So if you'd like to hear more about it, you could go back to previous episodes where I talk a little bit more. Yeah. Or if you watch We Grow Wild, I don't remember her name right now, but the sweet, adorable lady who does the We Grow Wild channel, I believe she just finished hers, and hers is also beautiful. She chose a color very similar to Gabriella's pattern, to Gabriella's shawl, but I want to say she knit hers with mohair and a strand of another kind of yarn held double. So if you want to go and see what something like that would do, because this is the yarn that Gabriella used for her design, so I just copied that and did it this way, but there are other examples of projects if you want to see it knit in something else, so you can check out hers. So yeah, that's my cowbell shawl. So these are my knitwear items today. Even though the temperature has gone back up here in Alabama, it was 70 degrees yesterday, Fahrenheit, and today it's 63 or 64, so it's a little bit cooler. We had been getting very cold temperatures, below freezing, so yeah. So I have one finished object to show you today and a couple of works in progress to show you after the fact. So this one is in my Labyrinth project bag. This is by Lila Styles, and I have talked at length about this bag as well. I really love this very much. So I had to use this for this project because if you watched my last episode, you probably saw that I got a couple of skeins from Long Dog Yarn's Labyrinth collection update, and I decided to go ahead and knit one up, and yeah, this is all I have left. This is the colorway You Remind Me of the Babe. It's really gorgeous, and I don't know if my camera, there we go. So my scale is out of batteries. It has been for a while, so I'm not sure how much this is. I'm going to assume probably 30 grams if I had to guess. So yes, I had to pair that with my Labyrinth project bag. And what I knit is my first Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. This is a pattern by Isolde Teague. And I know if this is not your first knitting podcast rodeo, you have definitely seen this pattern before, not here, but from somebody. So I finally decided, my light went out. Okay, my lights decided to all go off at once for some reason. So hopefully it still looks roughly the same as it did before. So as I was saying, yes, this is my first Musselburgh, and it will not be my last because I adored this pattern. So to talk a little bit about it, in case you are curious about my process, or maybe you haven't seen this before, the Musselburgh hat is a very, very popular pattern, especially recently. And it is known as the swatchless hat because the idea with this being that you pick essentially whatever yarn that you would like to turn into the hat, and you pick a needle size that you think might achieve a fabric that you like, and based on, so you cast on, you use something like a pinhole cast on, or you can use an I-cord belly button cast on. which I chose the pinhole cast on. So you choose one of those cast-ons. You start off with just a few stitches and you're increasing. And once you reach an inch of fabric, that's not an inch, once you reach an inch of fabric, then you measure your gauge. And based on the gauge that you achieve after you've already started knitting, you assess which, basically how many repeats and increases and all of that you'll be doing in the pattern to achieve the hat size based on your head circumference that you're going for. So my specs are that so this is a fingering weight yarn. It's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and I decided to use a 2.75 millimeter needle, and I liked the dense fabric that was giving me. It's a little bit less dense than maybe like a sock because I use a 2.25 millimeter needle, so I knew I wanted to be somewhere in that range for this. I've seen people use even like a 3.5 millimeter, I want to say, for this, for a fingering weight. Yeah, your mileage may vary. It kind of just depends on how you feel comfortable knitting and the type of fabric you're trying to achieve. So yeah, I liked the 2.75 millimeter, and I was getting 8 stitches per inch using that needle size. So I followed the pattern for the 8 stitches per inch, and I knit the adult medium, which is, I believe, meant to fit a 21 to 22 inch head circumference, and I measured, my head is 21.5 inches. So yeah, so I felt good about that, and I really very much love this hat. So I think I'll try it on and show you before I unfold it, in case I can't quickly put it back together in a good way. And I'm realizing now how much of my hair is knit into this pattern, to this hat. So let me throw this hat on. So here is my muscle burrow. I prefer to knit, or yeah, I prefer hats that do not fold. I feel like I kind of have a larger head already, so I don't want a lot of bulk, so I didn't knit this quite as long as maybe I would have needed to if I planned to fold it. I will show you what it's like folded, because this is how far it comes down. So I certainly could fold it, but I just think it looks cuter on me without the excess fabric. And when I do this, you'll see there's no slouchiness. This fits really close to my head. So I knit it the perfect length for how I prefer to wear it, which is like this. And now I have just a little bit of a slouch. So I really am very, very happy with this hat. I have knit, last year I knit another purple hat, coincidentally, and it was a fingering weight and lace mohair held double. And at the time I thought it was pretty cute, but it's actually fairly large for my head, so I may find a person to give that to who has perhaps thicker hair than I do. I have very thin hair, so I don't get a lot of cushioning to help with the hat. But anyway, so I feel like this is really cute. And now I understand why everybody is really into this pattern. I have plans to cast on another one because my husband wants one, and he requested it in black, but as much as I love him, I think I will not do that. Unless he really, really wants black. If he says, yes, it has to be black, I will do it. But this is quite a bit of knitting. And to knit it in black, I told him I could buy you a black knitted beanie. But yes, this is such a fun pattern. This is what it looks like all unfolded. And I did block this, I should mention. So I blocked this with, I think I used eucalan for this one. Normally I block my knits with a lanolin rich bar, but I didn't want this. I found with lanolin, I feel like my projects stretch a little bit more, and I didn't want this to really stretch. I just wanted it to even out, and so I used eucalan, and it worked very, very well. So this is the hat. And mine is perhaps a little bit shorter than some that you have seen, but again, you saw how much yarn I had left over. I didn't knit it quite as long, and I'm really happy with the length. So when I knit these for myself in the future, I will follow this exact recipe, if you will. So I just love I just love all the speckles on this fabric. This was my bind off, or my decrease side. So this is the side that I started on, and this was my first time doing a pinhole cast on. It's very finicky. You have very few stitches on, across multiple DPNs, double pointed needles, and I was getting a little bit irritated with it, and so I thought, since it's so few stitches, if they end up a little bit twisted, I don't really care. And if the side looks kind of strange, this can be the side that I tuck into the other side of the hat. And that's what I did, because I do have a little bit of an overlap where I can see I twisted perhaps some stitches. It's not too bad. And I really love the increases. I think the increases look very nice. They were very simple to do. I just kept stitch markers in the round. Yeah, I did use DPNs for this project. And so I kept stitch markers on to mark. Did I? No, I didn't. I used a 16-inch circular needle, but when I was at the beginning, cast on and increasing, and when I was decreasing, I switched to DPNs. And so I used stitch markers to separate all of the sections, of course. But this is the section where I decreased, and I think it looks much, much neater. So this is the side that I keep as the outside of my hat. Yeah. Like I said, I totally understand the love for this pattern now, and I am excited to knit more of these. I was so happy to cast this on because all of my other projects right now are either color work or they are heavily patterned, if you will, and having a almost 4-month-old baby, I don't get a lot of very focused knitting time. The shop has been very busy, which is wonderful. So I really wanted a project that I could just knit stockinette, and it worked out. So I need to go ahead and cast on. Once you get past the initial cast on and just that sort of more finicky section in the beginning, then it's really just straight knitting for a very long time. So I need to cast on a second one and get going so I can have something to work on when I don't have time for more complex projects. I have to pour a refill of my coffee. You can kind of see the way that I do it. I have a little mesh sieve. The handle popped off, so it's just the sieve part. And that's that. So now I have another very strong cup of coffee. Okay, so I have 2 works in progress to show you. And they are both in project bags that I sewed. These were part of my last big update. Both of these designs are all sold out, but I may try to make them again in the future. I will need to get more of that main fabric, but these came out so beautiful and they were very well loved. So I think I will have to at least do another collection of this one. This one sold out in a day or 2. And so I want more people to be able to get their hands on this one. It's definitely my favorite one I've ever sewn. So I'll start with what's in this one. And last episode I talked about the yarn for this because I dyed it, but I had not yet cast on. And now I've not only cast on, but I've made a ton of progress. So this is the Herbalist Swancho by Olga Putano Designs, and this is my second Swancho pattern that I've knit from her. So let me get it all out and situated. Yeah, I love these bags. They're kind of deceptive. They're not huge, but they do fit. They do fit my entire sweaters and giant shawls. So I've been very pleased with the size. Okay, this is my project so far. Isn't it beautiful? I love these bees. They're so sweet. This isn't even blocked yet, and the bees come out so well. So yes, to talk briefly about the yarn, because I've kind of gone on at length about it before. these are my 3 colorways. And again, I dyed these. This is on an alpaca cashmere merino, or alpaca cashmere and silk base. Yeah, I don't think there's any merino. So this is the softest yarn I have ever felt in my entire life. It's very similar to the Juniper Moon Farm Harriet. This is that pure alpaca yarn, but this, because it has that cashmere, actually it's sort of, if you combined this sweater with the shawl, that's what you get. It's very soft all around. All of the projects right now are quite soft. So this is honey, this is lavender, and this is soot. And I'm still in my first skein of each color. And I know you are probably feeling very overwhelmed with joy and happiness looking at this project, because that's how I feel. It's so, so beautiful. Olga is such a fantastic designer. She is the Swancho queen, in my opinion. There are some other designers who have some incredible Swancho patterns, like Tristan of Dragon Horde. She has a Swancho I intend to knit eventually that has moons in the yoke, and it has I-cord lacing up the side. So it's almost like a Swancho meets a corset. It's really pretty. That's on my queue for sure. But Olga Putano really knows what she's doing. She has such beautiful shapes to the Swanchos. And yeah, I knit her cottage Swancho, which you can see 2 episodes ago. Yeah, so this is where I'm at. There are 2 colorwork charts for this pattern, and I'm on the second one. I'm maybe an 1/8 of the way finished with it, maybe a little bit more. I think it started about here, so I'm probably farther in, maybe more of like a 1/4 through the chart. So this is all the first chart, and it has roses. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this is. There's roses on the top and on the bottom of it, but I'm knitting this with a friend, Tammy, and neither of us can really figure out what this is. It's beautiful, but I'm not sure what it is. I don't know, maybe it's a trellis with roses coming up. You should look at the pattern and tell me what you think it is. I don't know, but it works. It's beautiful. I have no complaints. So yeah, this is so soft, very, very drapey. I cannot wait to have this one done. And so right now it's on smaller needles and it's not blocked, so it does look quite small. But I remember that when I knit my cottage Swancho, it looked like this too. And when I went up on the needle size, it really expanded the yoke quite a bit. I think it's deceptive knitting this, because with it being a Swancho, the whole point of it is that you have this very, very long yoke that comes down to a little past your elbow, and then you separate for sleeves. So you've got these itty bitty sleeves and this very long yoke. So it does look quite small, but if I stretch it a little bit, like as though it were blocked, and again, keeping in mind this is on smaller needles, it's coming out just as it's supposed to. So if you knit this or one of her other Swancho designs and that's concerning you, you think it's not going to fit, you could always transfer it to scrap yarn or bigger needles or knitting barber cords, whichever you prefer to do, and just see if it goes over your shoulders. And if it does, you've got no problem, because the shoulders, as long as it goes over that's the widest part of the body it's really going to have to accommodate with this type of sweater, in my opinion, because there's so much ease built into it. So as long as it goes over your shoulders, you'll be okay. Yes, my other one fits beautifully, so I have no concerns. Yeah, I just want to show you just over and over, just look at it and love it. I hope that you find at some point in your knitting career an opportunity to knit one of these patterns. It's so beautiful, and I love that it has a little bit of this halo, this haze to it. So pretty. And of course, here are my floats. They're pretty intense. I will say this is a 3-color work pattern. Most of the rows involve all 3 colors. There's a few little sections where you get a break and you're down to 2 colors, but the majority of it is a 3-color work. I think anybody could do it, especially with this construction. This has to be one of the easiest constructions for a sweater that you could possibly do. So even if you decided to forgo the color work pattern altogether and you just went with the numbers and you knit something solid, or maybe included some stripes or just you know, some other simpler color work design, if you wanted the shape, I would say buy one of these patterns and you could just knit the sweater without the color work, just maintaining the sizing and where she tells you to increase and that kind of thing. But yes, I do think an adventurous beginner could easily do this, just taking time to slow down and be mindful of catching the floats and making sure you're having a looser hand so you're not getting puckering in the color work, and yeah, all of those important things. There's lots of videos on YouTube with sort of tutorials and recommendations and schools of thought of how to knit not only color work, but 3-color color work or more. So yes, you can totally do it. I believe in you. Okay, is there anything else I want to say about this? Oh yes, the yardage requirements. So when I was dyeing the yarn for this, I also dyed yarn for my friend Tammy. She did a custom order with me for my hand-dyed yarns, paper crane yarns, and she is knitting, there's 3 sizes to the pattern. There's a lot of potential ease built into the sizes. So even though there are only 3 sizes, there is, again, so much ease built into each size. I think most people, now I don't remember off the top of my head what it goes up to, but I want to say most people who wanted this style of sweater could find a size somewhere in that range that they could comfortably knit and either have it a little bit closer fitting or lots of ease. So yes, so I'm knitting the smallest size. So my yardage requirements would have led me to needing 3 of my main skein. So that's my soot colorway, 2 honey, and 1 lavender. But I'm getting a little bit concerned, and I mentioned Tammy because she is also, the last time I saw her and saw her progress, we were both getting a little bit concerned about that 3rd color, your 2nd contrast color, because so for my size it required 1 skein. For hers, I think it was 2 skeins. Oh, this is not it. I don't have another skein to show you. This is the 1st contrast color that did need 2 skeins. So I'm almost out. I feel like I'm almost out of the lavender. And again, I only have 1 skein of that. And I still have the rest of the chart mostly is that lavender color. So I'm a little concerned I'll run out. So if you, and again, she's having the same problem with that color where she's feeling like she may run out. But so far I have way too much. I don't even think I'll have to use this skein. And I've double checked to make sure I didn't get it wrong. But based off of her assessment and my assessment, we looked at it correctly. So yeah, not quite sure what's going on with that, but I do think I will have this extra and not even need it, and I may run out of the lavender. So if that's the case, I'll have to dye up something and hope to get a very similar shade. We'll see. So you may want to consider that if you decide to knit this. With the cottage Swancho, I had lots of extra yarn. I had lots of extras. This one, I could potentially have extra of one of these skeins. I'll definitely have extra of this, and I may run out of my 3rd color. So you might want to, for the herbalist, increase that 3rd color and maybe decrease this one. That's just my mileage on this project. So lastly, I'm going to show you my Stephen West MCAL, the 2022 Twists and Turns MCAL. The mystery part is over. It's been over. I am definitely behind. I didn't finish on time last year either. I didn't expect to finish on time this year, I guess, so no big deal. And you've likely already seen this pattern, so either from me or from others. Hopefully you've already seen the full thing. I seriously doubt anybody who's still knitting it is keeping it a mystery. If you are, maybe skip ahead a little while. I don't expect that because it's been over now for a month. I don't know, a long time. So I'm going to show you my progress. I am on clue 3 finally, and I'm about halfway done with clue 3. So that's exciting. So this one is in my Shroom and Fern project bag. I feel like my colors match this bag very well. Throw my pattern on the floor. Okay, this is a difficult piece of knitting to show because it's very all over the place. So super quickly, this is my main color. I want to say it's Plum Tree. This is my hand-dyed yarn. It's on my merino singles base. My contrast color, I need to wind up my second skein because I used up the entirety of it for the first 2 clues, but it's this color and this is Woodfire Clay. And then my accent color is my Ginger Carrot Cake. This one, so this is merino singles. This one is actually 75/25 merino nylon, but I figured because it was my accent, I wasn't too concerned about the different bases. Plus last year with the shawlography, I used a combination of 75/25 and merino singles, and I felt like it didn't make a huge difference in the size or the way that it blocked or anything like that, so I wasn't concerned. Okay, here we go. Let's see, how do I do this? It's much harder now that I have these long, strange bits. I have looked at the whole pattern. I know what this is for, and I like it a lot. Some people can't stand it, but it is hard to show. So, okay. Clue 1, beautiful. Difficult, but beautiful. Clue 2, garter and twisted rib, plus these gorgeous cables. Again, some people don't like this. You know, I feel like this shawl is maybe a little bit less criticized than the one from last year, which I also loved. I just modified the last clue, which I think most people will be doing this year as well. I think I will too. I'm not there yet mentally. I can't figure out how I'll finish this. I'm not making plans, but I have loved every aspect of this. I think it's really beautiful. The cable section is my favorite. I love these cables. They are so beautiful, and I can't wait to add in the accent I-cord ribbons, if you will. I think that will look really, really pretty, and I love the way that my colorway looks with that one. Okay, so this is where I'm at. Last time I was finishing, I think, my second cable section, and so I finished that, and I am just a few rows away from finishing this first half of clue 3. So when this clue first came out, everybody was, of course, very perplexed about what this could possibly be, this long strip. And as we know now, you end up picking up, so you've got live stitches here where I've got the scrap yarn, and you've got this long strip. So you end up picking up stitches from the strip and using your live stitches to knit vertically to come up for it to meet the top of the shawl. So right now we're knitting sort of the width of the shawl, and then I'll be picking up and knitting vertically, and I believe it's either short rows or the construction, it will make it to where it's not, you know, a rectangle. It's going to slope, and if you can imagine like a slope coming from there to this point, that's what it'll look like. So this is what that panel looks like up close. And I love this colorway. And Marquita, if you're watching, I'm really sorry because I keep telling you that I will list this on my website and I have not had the time to do so, but I will be doing it for sure before this weekend. And this video might be coming up after Small Business Saturday, so I don't know when you'll see this, but I am sorry. So here's the way it knits up. It's really, really pretty. Now I will say, I expected this section to be a bit of a break in terms of difficulty and stress, and I think this has been the most stressful section to knit. I really underestimated what this would be like. I thought for sure this would be simple, and even though it takes less time than the other sections, the process has been a lot more difficult because you have so few stitches. And of course, each row is different. Now, the pattern is easy to memorize. So you have a pattern that is like one section with one type of twist or cable, and then you go down to another one, and it just kind of shifts every stitch until you finish the portion, and then you repeat the whole thing a couple of times. So right now I'm on the last section where you only repeat the first half of those, and then I'll be done. I can bind this one off. But with so few stitches and such a small yarn and slick metal needles, I have had, and I never have this problem, but with this, I have been dropping stitches like crazy. Now most of them only drop maybe one or two, and so they're easy to pick back up. In some cases, I haven't even worried about picking it all the way up, like all of the bars. I just kind of get it back on the needle and keep going, because I don't think it's very visible where I've dropped those stitches. And yeah, this has been chaotic. I have knit before cables without a cable needle. When you have, so like this section, I would recommend using a cable needle or a DPN or a darning needle or something to hold your stitches, because it is an 8-stitch cable. But here it's a 2-stitch, so it should be fairly easy to do it without a cable needle. But because, again, there's so few stitches, it's very tight. The actual, this twisted portion, it's fairly tight, so the stitches pull on themselves. And in Stephen West's, his tutorial video, he shows you how to do these 2 stitches without a cable needle, and I did try it, but for me, it did not work. Now, if I was using stickier yarn, maybe if this was in the merino singles base, I would have an easier time. But with this being so slick and super fine, yeah, not happening for me. So I've had to kind of go slower on this section, because I am using my cable needle to do each and every one. So I'm going to be very glad for this section to be over, although I know that I have to come over here to this side and do it all over again. Yeah, ready for that to be over. Honestly, I'm ready for this whole project to be over. I'm done. I'm going to keep going because I am in the camp of thinking this is gorgeous. I really love it. I think if I had chosen other colors, I maybe wouldn't be as happy with it, but with my color palette, I do think it's really beautiful, and it's paying off all the hard work. So I'm excited to have this. But yes, so that's my progress. I think it really depends on how you wear it too. Like you could obviously wear this section in the front and kind of emphasize more of this portion, or you could move this chevron section to the front and emphasize that. I kind of like it better like this, with the chevrons in the back and wearing these cables in the front. But no matter how I wear it, I think this will be one of my favorite projects. Super worth it. And yeah, I've heard a lot of really negative things about this, and it's funny because people always start off with Stephen West is a genius, but and they're right, he is. He's incredibly talented. I think the hard part about doing an MCAL, a mystery knit along, is especially for somebody like Stephen West, whose patterns are so unique. I think you have to take it with a grain of salt, knowing what you're getting yourself into. I learned that last year. Last year was my first time doing it, and you know, I can't decide if I'll do this next year too. If I do, I may not do it during the mystery knit along time. I feel like there is some amount of pressure in following that schedule. I've had no issue with when I do Lyrical Knits, her MCALs. I've done them 2 years in a row, and I feel like even though hers are very, there's a lot of variety. It's like a stitch sampler, a lot like his are, but I would say even more so in the fact that you have very small sections of very interesting stitches, and you're constantly changing what you're doing. Whereas this, you've got like, well, with this one in particular, this pattern, you've got large sections where you're doing a lot of the same thing, and so it feels really monumental and like this mountain you have to climb. But anyway, with her patterns, I've had no issue keeping up every week. I've not yet done so with Stephen West. So I don't know. Those are all my thoughts. I'm sure you've heard plenty about it already. What do you think of this pattern? I'm curious. let me know if it's something you either are knitting, or have you frogged yours, or do you plan on knitting it now that you've seen it? I want to know what everybody feels about it at this point. Super curious. I do think it largely comes down to your color choices. I've seen some that I did not really enjoy because of the color palette, and that's just my personal taste. Yeah, that's it. I don't know how long I've been talking about this. Hopefully I'm not boring anybody. I'm sure if I was, you would have already clicked away. So if you're still here, hi, you must not be bored. Thank you. So I have 2 other projects on the needles, but I haven't put progress into them yet. Those are my Peripheral socks by Lauren Rad, and my gnome that I've been knitting. I haven't touched either. Those are both small little projects that I just, every single thing I've been knitting has had some kind of pattern. The socks are a lace pattern with some cables, and of course the gnome, that's a lot of, very easy work, but something you've got to really pay attention to, and I don't have time for those things, so I haven't made progress on those. I've only made progress on the big things. So now I'll talk quickly about a few things that I have purchased. So I have 2 books to share with you, and these are books that I've actually had for a while, and I keep forgetting to share them. So hopefully you don't mind that the images of these books will be reversed as far as the words go. At one point, I figured out how to flip my camera, and now I can't remember how to do it, but yes, I apologize. I'll have definitely details. I should have said this a long time ago. Details about everything down below. Hopefully that's helpful to you to know that this late in the game. But my first book is this Charming Colorwork Socks book, and this is by Charlotte Stone. She goes by Stone Knits as a designer, and this is one of my favorite pattern designers. She does mostly socks. She does have some mittens. Yeah. So I've been eyeing this book. I really wanted this since she announced it, and I finally got it. So this is full of very beautiful sock patterns. She is definitely known for her colorwork socks. These are the Forget-Me-Not, Blooming Lavender socks. She has, okay, so this is broken down into sections. Let's see. She has, well, in the beginning of the book, I just noticed this. I haven't looked enough at this yet, but she has a chart for standard shoe size charts for length of foot to sort of help you to determine if you're not maybe knitting socks for yourself, knitting for somebody else. It lists US, EU, and UK sizes in both inches and centimeter. There's kids, women's, and men's, so that's very helpful. That's worth owning the book. A great reference. Lots of different things about why colorwork socks and sizing matters, gauge for perfect fitting socks. So I love this book. It's very informative. She's got a section about your floats, choosing colors, color dominance explained, even things like how to care for your socks and all of that. So there's a section that's crafty animals. All of these patterns involve, of course, animals. She has one that's called Autumn Mice. They kind of look like chickens from afar, but, oop, hello. If you look at it closely, you can tell they're adorable little mice faces. I know there's a dog pattern. There's a swan pattern called Swan Lake. There's butterflies. And let's see, she's got, oh, these are really cute. I would like to knit these. She has these heart socks. Those are very sweet and adorable. So I plan to do those. And she does have chicken socks. I definitely need to make the chicken socks. I have chickens, so this will be a little homage to them. I have Dominicker chickens, so they're black and white speckled. Maybe I'll have to knit some Dominicker chickens. Snowflakes. Sort of kind of more traditional Fair Isle looking stuff. She definitely has a good bit of those in there. Grapes. Oh, this is cute. I hadn't noticed this before. This one is called Forest Walk, And at first glance, I thought that they were mushrooms, but they might be trees. And they include a Latvian braid. So this looks more of like a rustic. She's recommending kind of using more rustic looking yarns for this one. But she does have some gorgeous mushroom, some fly algaric mushroom patterns. And I own all of them in my Ravelry library. Those are on the top of my list for her patterns. She has some mittens. They're called the Magic Toadstool mittens and socks. Those are really cute. So yeah, I very much recommend this gorgeous book. It's really sweet, and I don't think you could ever be bored knitting these socks. Oh, yes, I completely forgot about this. So she has a food section. There's cherries and ice cream and the oranges that I just showed you. Actually, the section of the book is called Food, Glorious Food. But I just saw something that I forgot about. Oh, there's chili peppers. Yeah, super cute book. There is a pattern in here. Of course, I won't be able to find it now. It's coffee cups. So I need to move that to the top of the list too. And then my other book, this one's been out for quite a long time, but it's the 52 weeks of socks. Let's pretend like that's oriented the correct way. This is a hefty book. There's quite a few, 52 patterns in here, so it's over double the one I just showed you. Again, you could never get bored knitting out of this book. And in fact, I should really stay off of Ravelry, where I've recently acquired far too many patterns because there's so many talented designers out there, and I want to support them, and I want to knit all of the patterns. Yeah, but I have, between these two books, I've got over 75 patterns already to knit, and that, saying it like that, is kind of horrifying because that's never going to happen. I will never knit 75 pairs of patterned socks. Maybe if I live to be, 90, it'll happen. I haven't looked at this one in a while, so I can't quite recall anything in particular that's jumping out at me that I need to show you, but there is also very beautiful photography in this book. This is like almost like a coffee table art book for knitting patterns. And how could you not want to just sit? Does anybody else read knitting patterns for fun? Because during busier times in my life or in my day, when I know that I'm not going to have a chance to knit today, if I have a moment to at least read, I will read patterns. I find them enjoyable and informative, and it almost satisfies that itch to a degree because I feel like, okay, I'm learning and I'm enjoying reading the pattern. Is that a little crazy? Or I'm sure others do it, right? Yeah, I can't find anything in particular to show you, but there's definitely some beautiful ones in here. I want to say there's like Hohi Locatelli and Andrea Mowry, I think, and Boylan Knitworks, and lots of very well-known designers. Of course, this is a Lina magazine or a Lina publishing book, so all of the big names have come in to knit this. Yeah. And lastly, so I mentioned in the beginning of the episode that I visited my sort of distant cousin. I'm trapped with yarn. I visited my sort of distant cousin, her Popup. Her name is Brooke, and her yarn company is called Biddy Knits, and I'll have that all linked below and all of that good stuff. But of course I had to buy a skein of her beautiful yarn. This one is called Golden Hour, and it's a 75-25 merino nylon fingering, so sock weight, and it's really, really pretty, and yeah, I definitely needed this. I did also record some footage of her booth, as well as there was a designer there too, and I got some footage from her. So hopefully, I haven't reviewed that footage yet. I was a little bit all over the place. I had my baby with me, and I was a little bit out of it recording that. So hopefully I got some good footage. If I did, it'll be included. If not, I will get some new footage when I go in February to Vend. But yeah, she has some beautiful yarn for sure. So I'm not sure what this will be yet. I don't normally buy yarn without a purpose, but I did in this case because it's beautiful and I wanted to support her. That's pretty much everything I have to show you. For my future cast-ons, I have 3 that come to mind of projects that will definitely be on the needles, as in the yarn is either on its way or I already have it. I've got, of course, a laundry list of many patterns I would like to knit, but I need to kind of bring it in and stop getting so ahead of myself. So I plan on knitting the Mosaica sweater, which is also by Olga Butano, who designed the Swancho I showed you. That is one of her newest sweater patterns, and I ordered a kit from Lavender Loon, who she often partners with for yarn kits for these sweaters. I ordered a kit from them over a month ago. It's been 5 weeks or so, and I'm still waiting on it. It said a 2 to 3 week turnaround. I imagine this is a busy time of the year, so I'm still waiting for it, but I'm hoping it'll get here soon because I would really like to cast it on. That's going to be a very beautiful sweater. I also, my dad asked me to knit him a vest, a cabled vest, so the yarn for that should be here shortly. I know it's shipped a couple days ago, so maybe after the holidays, after the holidays this week, and all of the busyness and things being shut down, hopefully I'll get that soon. I would like to go ahead and cast that on, but he asked for a forest hunter green kind of cable vest. So I'm very excited to knit that for him. I feel honored that he requested that of me. I love that I was asked for a knit gift. That's really special. So I'm excited to knit that, and I hope that it turns out well and he loves it. And then my third one is a sweater by, I want to say she's a Czech designer. I can't remember her name. I know it starts with an M. I'll have this also linked below, but she designs really whimsical patterns, and she has one called There's No Place Like Gnome, I think is what it is. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you would probably have already seen I have a gnome collection coming out this weekend for Small Business Saturday, November 26th. I really don't know if this video will be up before then, but hopefully it will be, so you can have a chance to shop this collection if you're interested. I very much love gnomes, and I always have, and I've been collecting them for over a decade. So yes, gnomes are great. I love them. I wanted to release this gnome collection back in the summer, and because I had a baby and all, I didn't exactly have a chance to do so. So now I finally have my gnome collection coming out, and I am doing project bags, and I have a mini skein bundle set. And my husband, hopefully he'll finish this today. If it's done, I will include a picture or some footage of it in this video so you can see it. But I asked him to, he's an artist, and I do watercolor paintings. So I was going to do a watercolor gnome for this release, but I don't have the time. And I am very grateful to the fact that while he does not have excess time in his day either, he has spent a couple days illustrating a gnome for me. So I'm very excited. I'll get to have sort of my vision, some handmade art from the Paper Crane family included with the set. So yes, I intend to replace my label with this illustration on the ball bands for these mini skein bundles, but I'd also like to make prints to sell in the shop and online. So yeah, this is my project bag. It's really amazing, and I am not going to keep one for myself because I have so few for the shop. I'm just going to have to get more of this fabric in the future. I might do a gnome collection round 2 sometime in the spring. I have a lot of plans and not enough time to make them happen, but I would like to do this collection again. So yes, just gorgeous gnomes. I've got this very faint red Essex linen. I used matching stash fabric for the linings, so some of the bags will have this silver and red plaid, and there's internal pockets sewn in, so you get a main compartment and you get some pockets. So some of the bags will have that, and some of the bags will have, I don't have one with me right now, but it'll have this tan, oh actually, it's the same lining fabric I used in this, so it's got this tan fabric with acorns. So yes, half will have each the other half will have the other each. English today is not suitable for my tongue. And then this is the mini skein collection with a special note. So this is the bundle, and I love it. I'm really happy with it. I think you could either knit a gorgeous gnome with these yarns, or you could use these in another random, any kind of color work project, or you can do what I'm doing, because I will be saving one of these bundles for myself, and I am going to knit the sweater pattern that I started this whole conversation with, No Place Like Gnome, and it's a circular yoke sweater with gnomes going all the way around, and there's watering cans, and there's strawberries and pears and a picket fence and just lots of cuteness. I have to have the gnome sweater. I always have needed that. So I'm going to finally make it, and I'm going to use these. So these colorways, this is called Gnome's Hat. This is Forest Home. This is Fox Friend. This is Weathered Tunic. And this is Mushroom Stew. And then I also had in my store some undyed tweed base, but I didn't have as many of these as I needed for the bundle. So I decided, because I really feel like this bundle looks extra cute with this tweed. So I'm throwing this in while supplies last. I'm throwing one of these into the bundles as a thank you gift for people who are purchasing this on Small Business Saturday. And so again, this is the main bundle, and I'm not changing the price. I'm just adding this in because I think it's a sweet gift, and it looks cute. And of course, many people, I'm sure, would already have something similar in their stash, because my intention for my sweater will be to knit my gnome with this as the gnome's hat. Of course, it's called Gnome's Hat. And then I will do the flesh tone with Mushroom Stew, because it's a little bit deeper than my skin tone, but it could be a skin tone for sure. And Weathered Tunic will be the shirt, but this could be a good beard in between, because that's part of the pattern, of course. But if you were to knit this sweater, you could use any color you wanted for the hair or the skin. You could make this the beard, and you could do a darker color yarn or a lighter color yarn for the skin. There's lots of, you could obviously customize it if you want it to look more like yourself or what have you. The gnome of your dreams. You could do a lime green gnome if you wanted. You could have an alien gnome, a Martian gnome, whatever, floats your boat. Yeah. So I'm very excited, and I'm excited to share that sweater with you when I have it cast on. The only thing I'm still deciding is what I will use as my main color. So in the pattern, she has like a really bright yellow as the main color. I don't really want a bright yellow sweater, as cute as it is with this motif. I think it works very, very well. I'm thinking I might want something like a pale pink. Obviously, there's already a lot of colors going on, so I want it to have enough contrast that I don't lose any of the color work in the pattern. So I'm still deciding, but I do have, I'll show you, I have 2 skeins of Soleil, which is one of my hand-dyed yarns, on the same base. So I could do this as my main with these for all my color work. I don't really know if this orange will end up in there. I think I may get like a true brown to use instead, because it's meant to be for his shoes and the picket fence. So I will probably find some kind of brown that I have in stash. I'm sure I have something I could use. So yeah, something like this. I'm still deciding. Again, I don't really want a yellow sweater. I don't know. Decisions. Okay, is that everything? I wasn't sure how long today would be, but apparently I'm very chatty, and it might have to do with the many cups of coffee. And now I have to stop drinking coffee because I still breastfeed, of course, and yes, I need to get the caffeine out of my system. Oh, one more cute little thing, if you're still here. If you're still here, thank you. I have a friend, Kelly, who owns a vintage reselling business, and it's called Fluffy Tufts Vintage. I have a slight lisp. I have a hard time saying that. Fluffy Tufts, like tuft of hair, okay? Fluffy Tufts Vintage. she has really adorable stuff, and she had some fabric some time ago, and so I got this vintage strawberry shortcake gingham from her, and it's so sweet. I think I can't quite recall. It might be a little bit less than it's definitely less than a yard. Oh yeah, less than a yard. But just enough that I can sew something cute for my daughter. I haven't decided what. I don't think I'll do anything apparel-wise because it wouldn't last her very long, although it would make a really cute skirt now that I'm looking at it for her if I was to maybe make a skirt that she could wear with like a hand-knit sweater. I don't know. I need to figure that one out. We'll see. But yeah, I had to share that because I think a lot of you would probably appreciate this. Very, very cute. She also gifted me, because I love Care Bears, and she has a daughter, and she's been collecting vintage Care Bear items for her daughter, and she showed me a little bit of her stash, and it's so sweet. Care Bears were my favorite thing when I was little. Of course, I was born in the 90s, so it was a little bit less relevant to my time, but I love all things, well, mostly the 80s. That's my favorite time period for media and music and everything. Yes, I love Care Bears is what I'm trying to say. My goodness, the coffee has kicked in. Okay. So thank you so much for watching, and this is not going to be a fun video to caption. This is a long one. I hope you're enjoying lots of happy special times during this time of year with the cooler weather, and I know a lot of families like to get together, and so yes, I hope that you are finding some time to slow down and reflect on the year and just try to create beautiful things. And you know, I'll leave you with a tip. My tip would be if you're feeling a lot of pressure, like it's the end of the year, I have projects going, you know, I want to start the new year with empty project bags and clean needles, which is something I said in my last episode. I'd say give yourself some grace, because it's okay to have those projects still on. Don't feel like you have to pressure yourself to get everything done. You'll get there. Just enjoy the process. You know, it's such a luxury that we get to work with our hands, because it means that we have the time and that we're carving out the time to do something special, either for ourselves or for a gift. But it means that you have allowed yourself that moment to breathe and maybe watch something or listen to an audiobook, and it is a mindful and very luxurious time that we get to do all of these things. So just keep those things in mind. You might feel a little bit pressured and stressed. You want to get something done, you want to wear it, you want to gift it, but just be patient with yourself and yeah, enjoy the process. Okay, that's my tip of positivity to end you off, and I need to go home and leave my shop and get out of here. So thank you for coming, and please like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And yes, okay, goodbye. I've said goodbye 20 times. Bye. I always do this. Hope you guys like the colorways. Definitely. And we're so fortunate to be here with her and to get to look at all of her awesome yarn. I get close-ups over here. So is this base Surrey or is this mohair? It looks like Surrey.
Yeah, so the front is all of this up front is our Surrey 100% alpaca, and then back here is mohair.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see now. Yeah, I wasn't even looking at that very
it's
closely.
Really fun. You can see these are the two
difference.
same colorways, but because of that silk, mohair is the mohair is a lot shinier. And Surrey always comes off like a really pretty matte finish.
That's what I was thinking too. I've yet to dye Surrey myself. I always do mohair, but this is really cool. And I know a lot of people like this if maybe they're sensitive. Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
What?
So I'm always have to make sure I'm doing my gloves and stuff. If it's
Oh,
not
okay.
right by my neck, it's
Yeah.
fine. Like I have that Alpenglow by Intermarried.
Nice. Yeah.
And the Surrey, or the mohair is like here and like here, so it's okay.
Okay.
As long as it's not like.
I'm very sensitive on my neck too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show this. This is my favorite colorway. So pretty. I'm gonna show your donuts one more time. So you have more donuts coming in February?
Yes.
So donut collection 2.0?
So we named it Donut Mind If I Do.
Yes.
It's really fun. And
So
then
cute.
we'll offer a few more colorways.
Awesome.
And really great.
Okay, I'm gonna show you one more time. So thank you so much for having us. Studio space. This is the big room that I have behind my storefront, which is over there behind those curtains. So this is the space where I sew all of my bags and I store things like, you can probably see over here, there we go, some undyed yarn that I need to dye up, and in the white cubbies back there I have lots of different fabric. You can see kind of maybe my sewing machine in this area, and down here I have some gnome fabric because I am working on a collection that has been in my brain for a while, and it's going to be a small collection, and hopefully I'll maybe redo it again next year and do it on a bigger scale, because when I started to actually put the work in to get the collection going, I kind of thought about a lot of different things I would have liked to have included. So yeah, I think this will be part one of my forest gnome collection, and I'm really excited because I love gnomes. So I'm getting my fabric ready. I'm going to sew a few project bags with this gnome fabric, and I'm dyeing mini skein sets based on different elements that I sort of liken to forest gnomes, and I'm really excited about that. My other goal is to do a watercolor painting of a little gnome, probably with a fox, and I would like for the gnome to somehow be incorporating a paper crane. And my plan is to, after I watercolor it, scan it in to my computer and replace my labels, which are these. I think it's probably reverse on the screen, but I want to replace my label with my watercolor gnome and a paper crane just for this limited release collection. So yeah, those are my plans for today. That's what I'm working on. Hoping to make some good progress. I've already been at my shop for I think an hour and I really haven't gotten much done. There's so much prep that goes into preparing yarn for dyeing and preparing fabric for sewing, and so I'm kind of in my prep stage right now. This is my least favorite stage because I always feel like it takes so long, but it has to be done. So that's what I am working on. The upper portion of the bag. I am making drawstring bags. So this is going to be the upper portion. I love it. I am going to wind up this skein of You Remind Me of the Babe by Long Dog Yarn, and I'm super excited because look at how beautiful these speckles are. So this will be a Musselburgh hat, which I think is a pattern by Isolde Teague. Right. Yeah, this is so beautiful. Here's the label, Long Dog Yarn. I tore it like an animal. This is the bounce sock base, 75/25 merino nylon, 463 yards. Super excited. This was from their Labyrinth update, and this is one of 2 yarns that I got. So yeah, let's wind this up.